Hi, this is Justin, and also we have...
My name is Chad Nicefield. I'm Chad Nicefield.
It's Chad Nicefield, and welcome to Making Waves, the ShipRocked podcast. This evening, we are completely honored. We have a Grammy Award-winning platinum artist by the name of Corey Glover from the band Living Colour. Corey, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Hello.
Man, this has been on our radar. We've been so stoked to talk to you, dude.
Absolutely.
It's quite an honor to have you here, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. This is my, not for nothing. This ShipRocked is my favorite time of the year. That's never going to happen ever again. But, we can talk about
that. Good night.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
And
this.
wrap.
It was
listen.
beautiful.
Yeah, Corey, I tell you what, you guys, Living Colour, and even yourself, I mean, you guys are neck and neck with Seven Dust on who's performed the most.
I think Seven Dust has done it more than we have ever.
Okay, well, when I always think of definitely when I think of ShipRocked, I think of you guys. So it's again an honor to always have you on, and an honor to have you tonight. And you're helping us celebrate episode 20 tonight, so we're fully stoked. So thank you for this little milestone.
Anytime.
Yeah. So let's get to it. So your day job, 32 years now, pretty much, right? 32 years, 33.
A little more than that. There was a time when when no one knew who the band was, and I was still doing this dumb shit. But I made it happen. I've been doing it for a long time, long time.
Yeah. So obviously with that, you have obviously a string of albums that have sold really, really well. And you guys have gotten a lot of accolades in the rock business, obviously from your peers. And now you're sitting there, you're looking at what, I guess, so 3.5 decades in, if you were to look back on your career, at least with Living Colour, let's just focus on Living Colour right now. What would be a couple of words you use to describe
that? Challenging. No,
right?
It's been a challenge on many different levels. And as a challenge, it was like we set a goal for ourselves and we try every time we hit the stage, every time we get together, anytime we do anything to exceed that challenge. So the fact that we give ourselves things to do that are daunting at times, but we love to do it. We love to get up for it. We love to get to it.
Yeah. I mean, enough can't be said as far as you guys as being a live performance band. I mean, the players you have in the band, your ability as a front man, it's always such an amazing thing to witness.
Seriously.
And it's always, and especially when we'll get to ShipRocked, but I have to say when you do ShipRocked and you guys play it, or you just go up there and you're singing solo when we do the Stowaway stuff, the amount of younger bands that sit there and watch you, and I'm thinking, man, they are taking some notes. They better be taking some notes on this.
Well, I'm taking notes from them because I don't want to miss anything.
So you're just watching them just piss themselves in the corner and be like, oh man, if I screw this up, Corey Glover's going to know about it. Just giggling back in your stateroom.
I mean,
seriously, man.
Yeah. Also, I mean, listen, it's always the elephant in the room when it comes to you. It's like, obviously a lot of people do know you from your starring role in Platoon. Obviously for a lot of people, that was actually a first introduction for them before the band, kind of took the public by storm.
Absolutely. That's my first real feature film I ever did at that point. Yeah. And that in and of itself was such a mind-blowing experience. And when I got the role, I had just got into Living Colour, and we were still a local band in New York City playing downtown, all over the place. And then I went to Vernon's house and said, I got good news and I got bad news. Good news is I got a job. Bad news is I'm going to be in the Philippines for 3.5 months. So I don't know what to tell you. I got to go back.
Bye.
What was his reaction?
It's like, oh, that's great. That's what? You got to do what? He was very happy for me, but was very concerned about what was going to happen with the band. And as it turned out, when I got back, a lot of changes took place anyway. Like we were always on the verge. Every new band is always on the verge of something big is going to happen. And when I got back from the Philippines, the bass player we had and the drummer that we had left, and they went on to greener pastures. They got more lucrative gigs, is what it was. They're touring musicians. They became, and they got a really good gig. But fortunately, that's when Will Calhoun showed up. That's when Muzzy showed up, and that's when the band sort of solidified as a band. Like, we practiced, we rehearsed a lot. When, not for nothing, the band members that were there before, we didn't rehearse as much because they knew the material already really, really well. And for us, when it was me, Muzzy, Will, and Vernon, we were creating new stuff. So we were constantly going into the studio and rehearsing. We were constantly rehearsing. I rehearsed 4 or 5 times a day, 4 times a week, and then had a gig. And then it would do a gig on the weekend. So we really got our shit together at that point. And it showed. And sort of, that's why our live shows are the way they are, because we were really, really very well rehearsed, and we constantly kept that mindset going when we're doing it. And sometimes you will hear that we have not left any stone unturned. We'll try very hard to keep everything up in the all of it up in the air.
Yeah, I can't imagine growing up and actually not growing, but I guess the band growing up in that New York scene where you had to, it's so known for bands like, whether it's the Bad Brains or whether it was like up and comers like 24/7 Spies at the time, or even like Fishbone, who are a West Coast band, but they played New York all the time, where they felt like an East Coast band.
Right.
That right there. I mean, talk about having to keep your chops up.
Right. You had to, because there was always somebody there watching you. That was the other thing. New York City audiences are good for it. Like, they're always, gigs for us were always filled with other musicians watching us. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't fuck up. We really couldn't. As much as
it's like ShipRocked.
Yeah, exactly. It's like ShipRocked was a giant CBGBs. That's a thought for you.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what, Chad, you brought up a good point, and Corey, I think you can talk about, like, New York. A lot of people, I think, will probably go out to whether they're going to the Bowery or wherever at the time to go see a band, and they may have never heard of them, but they're going to check them out, right? I'm going to check them out. Yeah. You can see that in every lounge on ShipRocked, when some young band, and there's a crowd of people that have never heard a note, and say, I'm going to go check them out, and then an hour later they're going, you wouldn't believe this band I just fucking saw.
Exactly. And that's, that's what I loved about ShipRocked. That's what I loved about that scene. It's that everybody gets a chance on there. I would love to see that happen outside of, being in the middle of the Caribbean doing it,
right.
But it's not the same, like the grazing idea of going out to, obviously 2020 to 1990, for instance, there's a lot of that existed, where people would just go out because that was their activity. And that's how they also like commiserated with each other, or, just shared a drink over not cover bands, but actual original bands playing in CBGBs, especially in New York. I didn't want to steer too far away from that idea, but where were you guys? You said you would come back, and when you came back from the Philippines, from Platoon, you were rehearsing and the new members came on. Were you guys in Manhattan or like
we had a space in Bushwick in Brooklyn.
Gotcha. That's right.
So we were primarily, Vernon and I are from Brooklyn. Muzzy's from Queens, and Will is from the Bronx. So we're in New York. We are a New York City band.
Right. So you're in the midst of it all. Like,
and we're in the midst of it. And at that particular point in time, this is really post-punk, post-new wave. The metal scene was just being birthed at that point. So there wasn't a lot of that. And the few places you could go to in New York City to go see bands like the Continental, like CBGBs, like or bigger venues like the Ritz and Irving Plaza. There were lots of places you could go. Save the Robots. There was tons of places, hole in the wall places you could go down the Lower East Side into into the basement of some tenement and go watch a band, just to go watch a band, and then a DJ.
Of course.
And And so you could live, and these are late night places. Sometimes these are places that weren't really legally supposed to have bands, but they were doing it anyway. There's all kinds of places like that all over, and there were places like that all over New York City, Williamsburg, and parts of like Astoria, down on Gun Hill Road in the Bronx. There was lots of places you could go all over New York City, underground places to go catch music. Hip hop was just starting at that point as well when we first started out. So there were places to see all of that stuff. And the two sort of intermingled. Like you go to some places down in Alphabet City in Lower East Side, and you'd see, Beastie Boys doing a hip hop set, and then at 12A, you see them do a hip hop set, and then get on and then do their hardcore set. Like, where were you going to see something like that?
Right. They're picking up the instruments, right? Yeah.
Hey, I was just curious, Corey, real quick before I turn it over to Chad. How did you guys get along with like the L'Amour crowd, like that whole metal scene? Did they embrace you guys?
They kind of did. It wasn't the club itself; it was the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I tell a story all the time. And I would go to hardcore shows at L'Amour's, which was like a combat mission. It was like you were in like a Call of Duty thing. Like I got on the subway in Crown Heights, which is where I was from, and to get into Bay Ridge, I had to, once I got off the subway, it was like a stealth mission to get to L'Amour's because it was really, really racially charged in Bay Ridge, and somebody who looked like me was an enemy combatant to the folks that lived there. So I had to,
Wow.
I had to run behind trees and duck behind buildings and cars just to get to the front door of L'Amour's, and maybe they let me in. And then I have to do it all over again to get back. I remember I went there one time to see a Bad Brain show. And this is when Living Colour was doing pretty well at that point in time. And it was the first time I actually drove to L'Amour's. I was like, I don't remember how to get out of here now. Because all I know how to do is just run to the train station. But right. I would see Circle Jerks at L'Amour's. I saw Leeway a couple of times at L'Amour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of hardcore shows when I was younger, and was like, there. That was it. It was quite a thing to be there.
Yeah, that sounds as scary as going to a City Gardens in Trenton out there.
Yeah, we played. It's funny. We played City Gardens, and from what I understand, Jon Stewart from The Daily Show was the bartender there when we played there, and we played there.
What?
With the story?
What?
Yeah. It turns out we played with this band called the Swans, and this was like the most emo, dirgy kind of metal band ever. And it was like, we don't know what we're doing here or why. And just we opened for them, like we opened for everybody at that point. And it was just watching the Swans was like, wow, I can die now.
that good or that bad?
They were really that good. Like I loved it, but it was quite depressing.
Yeah. That band. I've not heard anybody mention the Swans in probably. I'm in Detroit, so like there's a certain segment of like the negative approach folks and all the other people who kind of cut their teeth at that period of time. Those folks will talk about the Swans, but I think it's the first time I've heard that outside of Detroit, like those little circles. I'm like, wait, I watched those videos with Tesco V and all those folks back in the day. Tesco's my dude, and like he put me hip to all these like circles of things that were happening outside of Michigan years ago, right? When I was just a kid, I knew as a kid, and that what you just kind of like mind fucked us with there is like from taking yourself out of what essentially was probably and unfortunately one of the most scary situations that you were having to even live through just to do what you absolutely loved to do as a human, to then saying, and then Jon Stewart was a bartender at this bar and also the Swans played there. And then I was like, okay, I could die happy now. I'm like, wow, that's so much life, like so much life in such a like small little geographical space for you, to be able to,
Well, And what was fun about it was that there's nothing else you could do. Like when you were that age, all you could do is find your place and find the places that would accept you in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes those places were in the middle of the most unhospitable places you could find, you know?
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I have to go into the middle of Trenton to City Gardens to you know,
to go see a fucking band. Yeah.
Right.
you know, I gotta go in the middle of Bay Ridge.
It's funny. Like, it's super funny to hear these shows. I mean, you're basically, if someone hears you right now, they'd think he's a hardcore kid, and you grew up and you cut your teeth on a lot of that. It's funny though to hear that and then realize that Living Color was really at the zenith, or the kind of you guys were the tip of the spear for the second wave of MTV.
Yeah, you know, it was, what was funny was we were assured. The four of us knew, man, you're never gonna play any of our shit on MTV. But the people at the record company was like, we're gonna get them to play your music on MTV. We're like, yeah, whatever. All right, we're just gonna make these. We'll try to make art films then, right? So the first song we did, the first video we made was for Middleman, and we had God, I can't think of the director's name, but he went on to do Neuromancer and a bunch of other really hip indie films. And so we thought we'd make this weird thing. And of course, nothing happened. And then it's like, okay, we'll do Cult of Personality now. Like, okay, cool, no problem. And the interesting thing about that was, at the time, MTV claimed that it was radio driven. So whatever's hip and new on the radio, they would play. We knew that was bullshit. But so they said, well, if you get, it depends on how many spins you get and blah, 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 blah. And Cult of Personality was getting a lot of calls. Like, we didn't get on prime time. We didn't get on drive time radio. We got on late night radio a lot of times. And we play on late night radios like WLBJ in Texas and those kind of places. And people would call,
Tastemakers.
Yeah, exactly. And they'd call, and people would call in. It's like, what was that? Because it was no one announced what they were on late night radio. They just played. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what was that? What was that? So we were getting a lot of calls for about that song. So it's like, oh, you're getting just a little bit of buzz about the song. Let's do it. Like, okay, cool. So we had a friend of ours who did videos and stuff like this. The guy's name was Drew Carolyn, and we were on the road at the time. And when we were on the road, that means we got into a large white Econoline van.
Yeah.
One with our gear and one with us in it, and a spare tire. And we drove everywhere.
No trailer, huh? You want two vans?
We just had two vans, no trailer. Nice. We didn't trust the trailer because you know,
parkways
were not the greatest.
Right.
So we just gotten back from, we did the Midwest. We played Chicago and Minneapolis, and we kind of met Prince. That's another weird story I'll tell you later. And it's like, okay, now it's time to do this video. And then the next day you're going to Europe. Okay, whatever. Okay, let's go. So we made this video. They finished this video. They put it on MTV. It was doing really well. And by the time we got back from Europe, it was like, you've got a top 20 single now because of this video. It's like, how, from what did we do? And, you know, it was like making that video was sort of, in a weird way, kind of an afterthought. Like, yeah, we know we have to have this happen. Yeah, we know this has to go down. But we were hoping for is that we will be known as a band that you could rely on to have a consistently good show, and a music video wasn't really going to do it. If we're going to have some sort of longevity, we're going to have to prove ourselves on a stage, not in a video. But it just so happens that this video was compelling to people, and they kind of dug it, and my hat's off to the folks that really made that happen. You know, because it certainly wasn't us. All we did was stand there and mimic this shit we did before, you know?
Yeah, I always see that video and I always think of Jackson Pollock.
it's a
big splatter.
Yeah,
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing. It was like, yeah, just pretend you're doing something live. Right. We could do that.
Sure.
Okay, fine.
Actually, that's what we can do. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny though. Can I ask you real quick with the look of the band? Obviously, what you're portraying. I mean, obviously, we can go to the wetsuit and everything, and the different colored braids and dreads. Was that something you guys chose to do, or is that something that the kind of the team behind you said, "Hey, this is what we got to do to kind of like mimic the album cover and the whole look"?
Well, that's how we dressed. You know, mind you, this is the late '80s. This is like 1989. Everybody sort of dressed that way. It was
New
like,
wave was still around.
Yeah, the neon colors and all the weird shit that existed was still there, and we were still very much embracing it. And we were trying, you know, in a way, we were actually trying to tone it down from what we usually do.
Oh,
you know?
Did they pull the socks out of your the front of your crotches before the video? You're like, I guess we'll go sockless this time.
Right. You know, no need for the door knockers in my pants this time. It'll be fun.
That whole sorry, I was gonna just comment on that whole idea of like what you're talking about. Like it's centripetal, right? You see it happen every few years. You see like this is part of the installation of your community, your society, whatever you're a part of, and you're mimicking it because you don't know where to find at that point something that speaks your language from the inside out. But then all of a sudden, in your case, what I see happening is a complete transformation. Like your insides were like so exposed in that video, in that idea of what this was, that like it brazened a path for what would be like your monumental career. Just and to think about the suits that you were wearing at that point in time. That's great.
You know, some people fixated on it was a lime green wetsuit. Happy now? Yes, those were Axo bike motorcycle pants that Vernon had on. Yeah, that's what that was. I get it. And so, but what that was a combination of was all the things that we had been dealing with up until that point. You know, like I knew a bunch of kids from, and I heard about these kids, and then I finally met them some years after the fact. These kids that lived in Far Rockaway that were hardcore surfers. So when they saw me, they were like, "We're gonna take you surfing." I was like, "No, thank you."
Did you ride?
I did, but I
Oh wow, even better.
I'm not. No. No. I have a career I have to think about, and I'm not going to be around before it happens.
Bro, this is just to get the chicks, man. I'm sorry.
I only asked that question because it was super interesting to see the juxtaposition between obviously Vivid and then Time's Up and then Stain, which is a much darker looking album as far as the art and the kind of the whole ethos behind that, the cover and stuff like that. So the way you guys just kind of went boom, boom, boom was so amazing. Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, we had to, in some cases, each one had to make its own statement. Now there was obviously Vivid is an introduction of sorts. So we had to be as out there and saying it as loud as we possibly can while infusing all the stuff that we had in us. So there was a hardcore element, and there was a freeform jazz sort of thing. There was a gospel thing. There was, there was R&B and hip hop was in there as well. All that stuff was in there. Here it is. Yeah. And then as we kept progressing, we sort of honed what that was. And I think the look sort of reflected that as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because like you said, Jackson Pollock, just throw it up against the wall and see what stuck. That was what Vivid was. You know, Time's Up was sort of like we had an idea, like the idea that what we are doing is reflecting what we see and how we see it. And that's what Time's Up was. You know, and Stain was a more cerebral look inside of those ideas of what we saw. Yeah. So everyone and all that, everything had to be reflected of that. We didn't have a plan. We just knew that that's what was going on.
Yeah, I tell you, when you guys came out with the sophomore album "Time's Up" and the title track was a pure hardcore song, I was like, that is ballsy, because it's not that's not exactly what you call a radio song. But man, I was like, wow, well, I think obviously having the success of Vivid gives you a little bit of freedom to kind of say, hey, we got this.
Right, and it's sort of it was weird because we were sure that our first album wasn't going to do that well. I mean, it had good songs on it, but it wouldn't do that well. Our second album and our third album would probably do a little bit better than the first one. And it turns out the first record did really, really well. So we were like, fuck it, let's go do what I want. We do what we want. I got this idea about this. I got this idea about the environment. Want to hear it? Here it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, you know, with Vivid out of the gate, you go double platinum plus, you
Right.
get your Grammy. You're like, okay, we kind of got the stuff that everyone chases. We got the platinum and we got the trophy. So now we can kind of just be artists, I guess. Or just do what we want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
that's the tough part. I'm sorry, Chad. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say just about your artistry, like segueing from that, and what you just said is like we're a little bit of all of this, which I assume that's coming from the little bit of everybody that's inside of that nucleus of that band, and then moving into like an area of like what you're doing currently. I believe still currently with Galactic in New Orleans is like is that been something that you've always like wanted to do as a musical styling, or did you just say fuck it, you want me to do it, I'll do it?
Right. What was funny about that was like
Yeah.
at one point it was like I have my black rock band and my white folk band, so it was really weird to have both of those things happening at the same time.
Right.
And you know, Galactic, the band itself, reminds me of Living Color, in that they were taking exactly the stuff from what was inside of them and out in their world, in New Orleans, in those wards, on Chapatoulas, all over town, and they turned it into something really interesting. Like they were they were the next step after the Meters to me. And they are amazing. They're all amazing. You know, they have, and they encapsulate that, like they embrace that they are as New Orleans as it comes.
In full disclosure, I live in New Orleans, and you're exactly correct. They are a institution here. So
yeah. And now that they got Tipitinas, it's like they've cemented it, you know.
They were supposedly a couple of weeks ago. They were down there serving, you know, because we have these restrictions right now. So they were down there slinging drinks. The band was down there slinging drinks just to get, you know, just to have the club open so people could take a look at it.
Right. Yeah.
That was like a big story too. Doing it.
I know Stanton goes down there. And shout out to Stanton, who's a pain in my ass.
What's up, Stanton?
Yeah.
Stanton, I heard he was down there selling coffee. Like, what are you doing? Like, you got a bar and you're selling coffee. I don't get it. But anyway, that's New Orleans.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Keep them drinking. Keep them up drinking, you know? So, I mean, even moving even further from what that is, then you go on and you're Judas on stage. So can you tell, like, the one thing I really want to ask you, you probably expose in general in this question, but like, can you tell us like, A, why, how did that happen? And B, like, what was it like doing that part of your life?
Okay. This requires a little longer of a story. So
I'm ready.
I am 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
And my parents take me to go see the movie version of Jesus Christ Superstar in a movie theater, a great big movie theater. I'm watching this thing and I hear the beginnings of the overture, and it's a guitar. It's like ding 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 ding. Like, what the hell is this? This is not a musical. And then I see Carl Anderson, and I go, that is what I want to do, right? right there, what he's doing right now. Damn for All Time is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life. And I'm singing it for days afterwards. Like, I want to be that. Jump cut 20 years later, and I'm on stage with Ted Neely from the movie.
Yeah.
Doing Carl Anderson's part because Carl passed away.
Right.
And I am freaking the fuck out.
Oh my God.
Every night. To have to look that man in the eye and go through and do that show. So this show scratched a couple of itches because I am an actor and I am a performer, and I cut my teeth on musical theater as in, from junior high school to high school into college. So
I didn't know that.
Here I am in the ultimate thing that signifies everything that I do. Here, I have to be an actor, I have to be a singer, and I have to sing these rock tunes. I have to sing these classic rock tunes with the guy from the movie that freaked me out for 9 months. And that was incredible to me. If I could do that over and over, if I could do that for the rest of my life, I'd be happy. I'd never want to stop.
Which I was going to ask you, I said, after you had that run and the success of it, was there not just the reason to kind of continue on with Broadway and shows like that? Or was this the band too much, pulling it too much to get back?
I'd want that. So I still want that. I want that so badly. I really want to do some more theater, but there seems to be a limit to people's imagination as to what I am. Okay. They know Living Color. They see me in the wetsuit. I am a man of a certain age. What role do you want me to play? Can he do it straight? Can he not be a gregarious rock star? Can he tone it down? I can, and all I need is an offer.
Yeah.
Right.
But I figure you have enough besides the two things we mentioned with Platoon and obviously Jesus Christ. I mean, you've done other movies. You've got, you have a TV series under your belt. I mean, so your reel is there. So I can't imagine anyone trying to pigeonhole you ever.
Well, I think people's understanding of me is a bit skewed, because they think, oh, he must be doing something. And what I'm doing is trying to fill time.
Right,
so
right.
I'm going to do the stuff I'm doing with Galactic when they ask and if I'm available. I'm going to do the stuff I'm doing with George Lynch called Ultraphonics. I'm going to do this thing I'm currently working on with Disciples of Verity, or I'm going to do this thing working with Mike Orlando, which I found Mike Orlando based on seeing him on ShipRocked, by the way. And so I'm also writing I'm writing scripts. I am developing things. I'm constantly moving. I have to keep moving. So just give me the opportunity to hear what I have to say and hear the things that I'm looking forward to do. And you'll find that I'm available to do it.
Yeah, the conversation sparks the next nucleus. I feel like if you're not engaging with these, albeit maybe something's not their cup of tea, as you start to speak, right? You're speaking to a director or some sort of production company, and then in that conversation is when your version of an idea and their version of something they've had in the back of their mind aligns. You just have them sit down, and you're like Justin says, your resume should speak for itself. But when you're a bard, right? I consider myself a bard. Like the idea of it is like, I have a Swiss Army knife, right? I can do all of these things. Some of them are a little better. Like there's a good knife in this Swiss Army. I'm a great vocalist or whatever, like you. Right. And then moving forward from that, I can also do all these things. But if you just let me do the scissors part of the Swiss Army knife, those will get stronger. I swear. I just right now I have to do the knife thing, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Little do they know that if you are
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say it's got to be a cross to bear, and like just thinking about it in the creative's mind space, be like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Damn. Why did I have to be so busy? I
Right,
think, but the
right.
thing is that the one thing they need to understand, and I don't think they bother to think is like, if we made him this offer, would he, everything else for you'd be like, I'm going to put everything aside to do this because I want to do this so much worse. Not that I don't love everything else, but
Right.
this is really where my life is right now, where I want it to be. So let me ask you about your life on and be. We all start somewhere. I'm going to ask the basic question. Who are your early idols? Who, other than Jesus Christ Superstar, who are your musical people that you heard and you went, that's what I'm going to do as well. I'm going to be a rock singer. I'm going to be a performer, like in front of a band.
For a long time, as a vocalist, just as a vocalist, to hear Michael Jackson sing, I'm talking about 12-year-old Michael Jackson on whatever it is, the Jackson 5 musical hour, whatever that was on ABC.
Yeah.
And just to hear him sing is like, I want to do that. And then I'd watch the Midnight Special and I'd see Thin Lizzy and I was like, I want to do that.
Oh yeah.
Or I'd get to some, and listen to my parents had these the major influence on my whole household was Miles Davis's Bitches Brew. That would play on a loop constantly. Or whenever we go driving somewhere, my father would always put in the Bill Withers tape, and that's all we heard for whatever road trip we were doing. All I heard was Bill Withers all day long. So so everything that I heard, I was trying to mimic, or was trying to be, or trying to deal with. Those were my influences.
So basically, Michael Jackson, Phil Lynott, Bill Withers, and Miles Davis. There you go.
It sounds like this current stage of your affliction, you were sort of born with that affliction. You're like, I have all of these things inside of me. I just don't know how to make them transform. I used the idea of transformers, right? Like when they all come together, they become the super.
I want to put that round peg in that octagonal hole right there.
Somebody's
like, you can't do this. Like, watch me.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Out and it'll be broken, but I'll do it anyway.
It's going through that hole.
Yeah. Hey, Corey, I'm glad you brought up Midnight Special. People of a certain age don't realize how important Midnight Special and Don Kirshner's rock concerts were to people who are like, that were being influenced and they decided to make musicianship their career, because those are so hugely influential.
Absolutely. The first time I saw Ike and Tina Turner was on Don Kirshner's rock concert. And I can remember that was my first erection as well, watching Tina Turner. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, that was great. Friday nights, what was that? I was syndicated. Don Kirshner's was syndicated. So it was always on it was always on the local station. It was never on, it was like, for us, it was on Channel 5. Don Kirshner's rock concert was on Channel 5. So, but you'd see all these things. And I grew up in the mid 70s watching all these variety shows, and watching stuff like, Sonny and Cher, and, even to some degree the Osmonds, which I was like, it was bad, but I watched it anyway because I thought Marie was cute.
You already had the erection. You're like, might as well finish this up.
Well, that erection will be guilt. That's a guilty erection, though. You don't want that one.
You have to follow your erection. That's the point. You have to follow. Wherever it says goes, you go. When you're 11 years old, that's what you do. So, Barbara Mandrell, another one. Boy,
wow. That's a weird one.
Very left field.
Didn't think that was a good one though. I mean,
hey, can we ask you then? Can we ask you then, just to kind of bridge the gap between Michael Jackson and Phil Lynott? Can you give us your Prince story?
Okay, so we were playing in Minneapolis. You're playing it at First Avenue, and there was a reception for Prince at this place, and we were invited to come there. And we'd gone there once, and we met up with Prince and said, "Hey, how you doing?" He was like, and Will, who's got a big mouth, says, "I hear you play basketball." He's like, "Yeah, and I'll whoop your ass. I like to see you try." So I was like, "Come on, let's get out of here before we get killed." So we'd have these series of sort of seeing Prince in certain places. Like we were playing in London, and we were in this club, and some big shadow of a guy came to us and was like, "The boss wants to see you." What the fuck are you talking about? Who? Us? We ain't steal nothing. So it turns out it was Prince. And he's sitting behind his velvet rope, and there's nobody in this club, but he still has to sit behind his velvet rope. Anyway, so we
like when you say nobody, like it was just like a completely,
there was like 7
open
people
space
in the club.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
us.
Yeah.
But he had to sit behind that stupid ass velvet rope. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so we were playing in Minneapolis, and he invited us over to Paisley Park. Okay. And it was us and a few other local musicians, and another guitar player, Steve. Oh,
from Minneapolis?
God. No, he's not from Minneapolis. He's actually from New York. He's another black dude. I can't think of his whole name now. I'm gonna have to look it up now. Hold on.
Would he have like Bob Mold up in that spot?
It's like, but he had like the cream of the crop of the people from Minneapolis there. As a matter of fact, one of the guys was there as an audition for him to play in his band. The drummer was coming in to audition to play in his band.
Gotcha.
Guitarist.
Are you Googling guitarist New York? Steve?
Yes. Steve. It's showing me Steve Lukather, Steve Morse, Steve Cropper, Steve Clark.
Wasn't Steve Vai, was it?
No, it wasn't Steve Vai.
Okay.
Let me see.
God, Lukather would have been really good, though.
It would have been interesting if Lukather showed up, though. Yeah. But it wasn't Lukather. But anyway, so we're in Paisley Park, and it's like this giant cavernous like warehouse building. Looks like a airplane hangar filled with stuff. And there's a bike from Purple Rain that's much smaller than you think it is because you forget how short he is. And there's his costumes, and there's guitars, and there's all kinds of stuff. And we're all standing around looking at this stuff. And all of a sudden, he pops up out of nowhere. You smell fire and brimstone, and it's him. He's like, "Y'all ready to play? Where did you come from?" Turns out he's got little rooms. He's got little walkways we can pop up out of nowhere. And then we start playing. We just start grooving on stuff. And I remember sitting there, standing there next to him, going, "What is this? And where am I?" He says, "Well, you're Corey. I'm Prince. You're in Paisley Park. Get to work." I'm like,
yeah.
Shut up.
This is awesome.
I want to beat your ass in basketball. Anyway, so because I hear he cheats. It wasn't that he really good at basketball. He knew how to cheat. He knew how to get you in the ribs and then go up for a layup.
Oh.
He wasn't a really, like, everyone keeps talking about how good a basketball player. Yeah, he's good at cheating too. He'll step on your feet, all kinds of stuff. He wasn't that, whatever.
What's a layup for Prince? He's like 5'2".
I know, but he's got some ups. Imagine walking around in heels all day. He's got
the platforms on.
He's got he got some springers on him for.
I was gonna say, is he like Spud Webb? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. He's got on handle because he's low to the ground. He's pretty fast. But I still think he cheats.
I think there's like a whole story about
he gets his bodyguards to like box you out and then
right.
trip you up, all kinds of stuff. Just like he cheats. He cheated. I know he cheated.
You heard it here first, everybody.
So okay, did anyone record? Did anyone record any sessions you guys did, or was it just a jam?
We don't know if anything was recorded, and if there were recorded, only the Prince Foundation has it because we don't know what the hell happened to that stuff.
Man, maybe he put it in the background of one of his records, just like unbeknownst to anybody. It's just back there in like a segue track. That's incredible. So what happened at the end of the jam sesh? Was he like, peace, I gotta go later, bitches, or what?
What it was, he disappeared. He puff of smoke, he's gone, and we're the only ones left in the room. It's like,
left you with a check.
Yeah.
Should we go now?
So I feel really weird about that, guys.
I don't know how what happened, but I knew we had to go because it was like he wasn't there. He was gone. He had left. I don't know where he went.
That's incredible.
What a fantastically peculiar story.
He's a fantastically peculiar man. That's just true.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we want to talk about the band, your project, the Disciples of Verity. How did that all come together? And some of the players, obviously you have the band that you guys have assembled, but you have some guest players I know that are very notable with Phil Demmel and Morgan and with Jeff Loomis. How did that all come together?
I was playing, I went to the NAMM show, which is sort of akin to ShipRocked, except for real band nerds. And with every bit of gear there. And I was there with some friends of mine from another band that I'd played with called Second Skin. And the bass player at the time, George Pond, we were staying in the same place, staying in the same bread and breakfast during the NAMM show. Turns out during this NAMM show, there was one of those major snowstorms that hit the East Coast. Blanketed all the East Coast. This was like 5-6 years ago. It blanketed the East Coast with like 2 feet of snow.
Right.
And we were stuck in this bed and breakfast for like 3 or 4 days trying to get flights back home. And I was there with my sons at the time who were about 9 and 10 years old. But so we had nothing to do. So we sat around and George says, I got these tunes. I wanted you to hear want to know what you thought of them. So I listened to these tunes like, yeah, that's great. That sounds really, really good. It's really good. Drop D tuning. I love it. It sounds great. Would you mind singing a few songs on it? Like, dude, for you, anything. I just want to get the fuck out of Anaheim. I want to go home. And he's like, sure. So like a couple months later, he invited me over to his house to do the one or 2 songs. And then he kept inviting me over. It's like, I got another song. I got another song. I got another song. I got something I want you to write to. Can you write to this song? So at the end of it, we have this album of all these songs. And one of his production friend, one of the people he wanted to help him out was doing the production was Corey Pierce from God Forbid. And Corey's like, this stuff sounds good. I'd love to play on it. It's like, so George snookered him into playing on the record too. And then everybody he knows, and all those guest stars that he knows, like Morgan and Loomis and everybody else, he basically suckered them. Basically, he just said, look, you want to hear these songs? Can you play along? Just play along. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. And we all got suckered into playing this thing. So the point is, I blame George.
What's it? I listen. I got the check.
Sucking You guys doing a tremendous, like, it's a great album. I mean, whatever he's sucking you into it was all for the right moves, because it's a fantastic album.
It's an amazing.
But I gotta ask the question.
Go on.
Where did can I ask you, was the idea of using the Ex-Ambassadors song Unsteady, was that you?
That was actually George again. George heard it on, he heard like there was a talent show and somebody had done it.
Oh.
And
interesting.
Like Britain's Got Talent. He heard the song, was like, that'd be a great song to do. And he played me the original. Showed me the TV clip, and it was like, yeah, let's do this right now. Let's get this done right now. So we let's go. That was fun.
So did you know that you were putting together a record when you were doing this? Was this like something you were like, this is going to see the light of day, or was it just kind of like, we'll see where this goes. I'll see you later next week, man. I'll come back.
Yeah, basically it was like, that's what I thought it was originally. It's like, but the songs kept getting better and better and better. And I'd come back to fix certain things because he had changed something slightly on the song that turned the song completely around. And as soon as that started to click in, it was like, this could be something. This should be. We should be doing something with this. And and knowing that Corey was down, and Corey is just a powerhouse drummer, just an amazing drummer, and had Mark Monjoy Eddie Monjoy on there, and it's from Second Skin. It was a bunch of stuff that was really, really, it just sort of came together, and it started to get better and better. The more people added to it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting the way that something like that can work, because I mean, sorry, I just wanted to comment. It's like in that moment of where you're like, camaraderie, I'll come over and I'll do this for you, buddy, whatever. See you next time. And then you come back and re-listen to it, and the art almost just like Rose's hand says, oh, this kind of fucks. We got to stay here and I'll do another song with you, you know?
It's like,
yeah.
Well, wait a minute. This starts to sound like something.
That's me? Okay, I'm in. Let's do it again, you know?
Right.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's I listened to it for the first time today, so I'm the like your newest fan of this project. Justin told me about it. I didn't know. My apologies. I went and said, "What's this all about?" And I was like, "Damn, this is fucking heavy." And it's like, it's interesting, and it's like, it's got obviously with the Jeff Loomis thing going on, the prog situations that are happening, like just everything that's going on is sonically is like, I can see even myself if I was in that position to be like, nah, I'll come over and I'll just drop this verse or whatever real quick, and then you look at it, you hear him like, you did that?
Right, exactly.
Let's go.
And then you hear all the people like, and like I said, like it's Mark Monjoy, by the way. I screwed up Mark's name, and I'm not sure he's going to enjoy hearing me saying I fucked up his name again. But
we'll fix it in post.
Thanks. There you go. Yeah. But you know, the folks in the band just seemed to rise to the occasion, and with the guest stars, with like Morgan on there, and with Jeff on there, and but the other people that came along, it just sort of, every time somebody put something new in there, it just got bigger and got better, and it was like undeniable at a certain point.
Yeah.
Is this a project that you guys are going to tour at some point, or is it just basically just a studio thing?
We were starting to tour last year. I mean, earlier this year, we did a short run going into New England, and we're getting ready to do some work, and then all this shit went down, and we couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of that, I guess, I mean, with the idea of hopefully, well, as we see the vaccine coming out here, there's obviously going to be some business to be had out there in those venues. Are you going to pick this up? And is this like your first priority right now, or is Living Color going to go back on the road when it comes on? And also, we know what you have going on here in September of next year, and we wanted to talk about that, but I just want to see what your plan was mentally, regardless if it can happen or not.
Well, my first priority is Living Color, more than, you know, and you know, it's a hard slog for us to make a record, but we have to make a record. And it's trying to, and in the time of, the zombie apocalypse, is kind of difficult when we all live so far away from each other. Not too far away. I mean, we could get to each other, but it is still a thing, and we need to concentrate. When we get in the studio, we start to concentrate, and hours and days and weeks and months go by before we see the light of day. So that's my first priority. Anything else that comes along, depending on how urgent it is, I will get to it. I'm doing, like I said, I did this project with George Lynch and Pancho Tomaselli and Chris Moore, and they want to do some more stuff. So I have to figure out how to add that into the schedule.
Right.
Like I said, I'm doing stuff with Michael Orlando. So there, which is really, really interesting. It's really piquing my interest. So, but first and foremost is Living Color.
So you'll weed through the rest of the obligations and promise notes once you get the main thing done. But will we see you, I guess, out there in the environment that is maybe a live venue, hopefully in 2021?
Hopefully in 2021. The first time we played since, I think the last time we played together was we did ShipRocked, and we did something else, and then in October we played in Philadelphia at the Ardmore Music Hall. Okay. Sort of like a get out the vote sort of thing.
Right.
And so that's the last time we played live in a venue. But we plan to, and like you were saying, like you were alluding to, we have things on the schedule that, barring some unforeseen tragic event, we're going to be there.
Well, we certainly hope that we will see you. I know that Justin also had mentioned to me about something very cool. Speaking of prolific human beings in all of the spaces that you've been in your incredible existence of a career in an artiste, Justin let me know that you're doing a David Bowie concert if I'm correct, David Bowie concert in September of 2021. Hopefully.
Yep. Hopefully.
What's that all about? I've
been doing this. It's called the Bowie Celebration. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, actually.
Nice.
And it's a bunch of folks, alumni from the Bowie band. So it's Mike Garson, who's been musical director and pianist for David Bowie for almost 40 years. It's Carmine Rojas, who's played bass on Glass Spiders, and he's been played with Bowie for a very long time. Mike Plotty, who played on Aliens, I think. Earl Slick, he's been playing with him forever, and is also a pain in the ass. Alan Childs, who played drums with him. Steve Jenkins, who played guitar with him. But it's a bunch of all the alumni from the Bowie band, with a number of singers, myself, Sass Jordan, Bernard Fowler, on this thing that they're doing, this special thing on Bowie's birthday next month, with a bunch of folks that are on it, like Trent Reznor's going to be on it, and Perry Farrell is going to be on it. Is going to be singing some stuff. Sass Jordan. There's going to be a bunch of real sort of superstar singers attempting to do David Bowie songs.
Is this in New York as well?
I think it's going to be an online sort of thing, celebration, and then
okay.
as a celebration of Bowie's birthday, because I think this would be his 70th birthday this year. This coming up.
Dang.
So and then we're gonna go back out. Now, here's the thing: when when the whole lockdown started, I was on the road with a Bowie celebration and we were on the West Coast, and we had just come from Europe. We went all of January. We were in Europe, and February I was on ShipRocked, and then come like the end of February, beginning of March, we started doing the North America, and we started on the West Coast. We were working our way east, and just as we got to Seattle, everything shut down. So all of and every venue that we were supposed to be playing at shut down as we were working our way up the Northwest, and then they shut it down and they sent us home. So I was literally the gig got canceled on a Tuesday. Wednesday morning I was on a plane back home.
Oh man.
So, and I've been home ever since.
Yeah, man, that is something to look forward to for sure. And the fact that you know that it's at least going to be virtual, you can't take that away.
Right.
You know, so do you think that there'll be any sort of like in-person play that happens if the tide changes, for instance, or just after that?
I think there's going to be some, you know, we've had everybody who's ever played with David Bowie on that stage thus far. We've had Omar Hakim, we've had Sterling Campbell, we've had, like I said, all of Carmine and Eddie Gonzalez. We've had anybody and everybody that's played. June. Steve Jordan was the name I was looking for back in the day with Prince. By the way, it just hit me. Sorry.
You got it. It worked.
Yeah. Takes a minute. Takes me a while. I'm old. But anybody and everybody who's ever played with David Bowie at some point or another has done this show. And I have a feeling, given how much we all miss playing in any way, shape, or form, that all those folks are going to show up again for this show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, Corey, obviously you are a very busy man. So if you don't mind, can we talk about the most relaxing week of your life? And that's called ShipRocked. We'd love to. We would definitely love to hear your quick take on it. Obviously, you guys have been on multiple times, and it's always a great time. But we'd love to hear what your thoughts on it are.
I love.
Actually, can I ask one question before you start?
I'll let Chad take it.
Sorry, because I think it might be a little bit to our benefit if we ask it like this. When you first came to the ship, like I'm talking the port, right? And you said yes, you checked yes, I'm gonna do this fucking cruise. Cool, we're going there. Here we are. I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise before this, but now you're getting on the boat and you're like, okay. That moment when you get onto the gangway, you know, and you're in that atrium area and it's all happening. Do you remember that feeling and what you were thinking at that moment?
Don't sink.
Was there a follow-up to that? Or you're just like 4 days straight thinking that?
4 days straight, just don't sink.
Yeah.
Don't sink. Because I'm not too good with that.
You're writing little notes on your window to the stewardess or whatever, just say, don't sink this motherfucker.
Don't sink. Just don't sink. And point me to the pizza. That's all. To basically, you know, because I've done 1 or 2 cruises before this. But not this particular cruise. And I knew it was gonna be a good time. I knew there was going to be a lot of stuff that you could do, including falling down drunk, and you'd be fine because somebody would be able to pick you up and prop you up on something or put you to bed or whatever. That it was going to be that you would be fine. This is like a safe space. It's a safe environment, and I'd done it. And my friend Ralph Sutton, who had emceed a bunch of times, always told me about, you guys should be doing ShipRocked. You guys should be doing ShipRocked. So doing ShipRocked, and I was there and I had friends there. I had friends from bands that I knew there, and I knew Lejean, and I knew the guys from Seven Dust, and you know, I knew a bunch of other folks from other bands that I'd been hanging out with forever. And it was a really comfortable space. And when you can do, weird karaoke at, 3:00 in the morning and not really have to worry about how you're getting home because you have 2 decks down, 2 decks up from there. It's fine. It's fun. It's where else are you going to be able to do that? Where else are you going to be able to interact with all the people and all the music that you could handle, all the good time that you could ever handle, and be in a tropical environment in the wintertime, when particularly because Chad and I live in hell. So
yeah, it's the best.
It's how can you beat that?
No, I mean
you can't. So
yeah. I akin it to, if I can correct me if I'm wrong, but do you think that this is like it kind of sounded like it was the ultimate scratch for all of the itch that you have, with all of the things that you love to do and and here it is on a cruise ship. You're like, don't sink, get pizza, karaoke late at night, playing shows, seeing people. I can be me. I can also hang out with this person. I know this friend. I'm never gonna see him again, and I could go join this band for a day. It sounds like your like literally your golden ticket.
Exactly. I could sit in an audience and see a band that I've never seen before. And then after the show, go up to them and actually have a substantive conversation about what I just saw.
Yeah.
And about what I just heard, and have a real sort of conversation, a real sort of meeting of the minds as to what it is that's going on for them, and pass on whatever information I have.
Right. That's huge. That's huge. You think about it that way too. As somebody that I know, an artist that's played that ship, everybody looks forward and looks up to you, so like to know that your mindset is in that place is just even more like, it's even more of a testament of why you've been able to achieve all of the things that you've been able to achieve, and you keep pushing your envelope further. And I think that the ShipRocked fans and all alike feel the same way about you and your personality.
Well, that's a fun time, and and you can get off that boat every now and then and get drunk someplace else. So, or have a good conch salad, which I really enjoy. So, the thing about it, it's like, it's adulting done right, really. But I would encourage people, younger folks, to come get on this boat too, because teenagers, I know it's not legal, but but it's just younger people to experience what this is, so they could see what they have to look forward to as they get older. And
That's even better. This is how hard you're gonna party when you get our age.
Welcome to 21. Welcome to 21, kid.
So anyway, shit, bitch.
Corey, to kind of keep within the ship theme here, we have a thing we like to end these things with. It's called Walk the Plank, and we ask you 3 questions: one for myself, one from Chad, and then one from a fan. And it's basically, it could be anything, but basically we have our 3 questions tonight for you, and you just answer them as honestly or dishonestly as you please. So
just lie to our faces, please.
Just lie. Go ahead.
You expect anything less?
Yes.
No, I'm fully expecting. I'll go first, Justin. Is that okay?
Yeah, by all means.
So number 1, I hope that one day we have some sound segments to go into this, by the way, like "arr" or something. But the idea of the question is, in what activity would you like a lesson from an expert? So if you just set up all the millions of things you already do well, but something that you always wanted to do that you do shitty, you want an expert to show you. Or you would think you would do shitty, I should say.
I'd like to get a lesson. There's so many lessons I'd love to learn. But I don't know. I think I'd want to get life lessons from some sort of from a yogi.
Oh, okay. Like any yogi, or like a full-fledged like,
Like
they live
going
in a field.
Are you going to go to Delhi, India, and do that, or is
Yeah.
that what you want to do? Okay.
On my hands and knees and have some and talk to a yogi and say, "Tell me what's wrong with my fucking life."
He's gonna
You're
say,
too
well,
busy.
You just crawled on
You
your
go-
hands
you're-
and knees all the way to talk to me.
You're too busy. That's what he tell you.
Yeah.
Slow down.
That's a good. I can at peace with that answer, man. That was really great.
Nice. Well played, Chad. All right. Second question, Corey, is this: what remains undone that you wanted to get done for years?
What remains undone? My house. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I need to get done.
What is lacking in your house? What's the first priority?
Cleaning it.
Always a good start.
Yeah, I just want to clean it out, take everything out, and then put it back in, just to see what I have and what I don't have. Because I keep,
If
like
you
I
really
said,
want to fuck with your neighbors, you should do it right now in the snow.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Why is there a piano on the yard?
No. So basically, okay, you want to get your house sorted. Okay. So Chad, you want to ask the third question? This is from a fan who wrote in.
Yeah, and I think what they're trying to ask is because we've been going in and out of the seasons, and specifically at this period of time, essentially you get to see all of the seasons because of where you're living.
Right.
What is
And where you've traveled and what you've traveled
yeah,
to.
exactly, and you've seen parts of the world that others haven't. If you can like think about the question is so what's the most amazing weather that you've ever seen or experienced? Like, do you have a moment like the eye of the storm moment or something like that? I'm not sure exactly what they're asking, but I'm assuming that it's not like fall.
No, it's not. It's not a season, and it really depends on who you're there with. Because when you're on, for example, if you're on ShipRocked and you're in the middle of the ocean, and you see the bluest water you've ever seen in your life, and dolphins and flying fish and all this other stuff, and you're with your friends and you're having a good time, that's the best shit you ever saw in your life, the best place you've ever been in your life. At the same time, you could be like in the frozen tundra, but if you got your friends around you, you got somebody that you care about around you, it's all good.
Yeah. So you in your mind, and I agree with you, the idea here is it's not about the geographical location, it's about the Ernst inside of your heart at that moment.
Absolutely.
Damn, dude. It looks like I need to come see. You're the yogi, dog. I'm coming over there to help you with that piano. That was really great. That was a really great answer.
So I had $5 down to you were in Manila and saw a typhoon. I guess that didn't win.
No.
Nope.
I've been to New Orleans after Katrina, though.
Yeah.
And I've been down in the fifth and fourth ward after Katrina. I know what that looks like. I've been down to the levees after Katrina and saw what that looked like. I've been to some really interesting places, and some places that I've been to the favelas in Brazil and found them beautiful. I've been in some of the places in the Philippines or in parts of Czech Republic that are former East Berlin, places like that were supposedly hotspots, and found beautiful people there, and that's what was all most important about it.
Yeah, that's a really great answer.
Yeah.
Gave me chills.
So we thank you for answering those three questions, Corey. And listen, we've had you for over an hour now, and we really appreciate your time. And this has been fantastic. So thank you for your stories and basically your origins and everything else going forward. And obviously, we wish you nothing but the best. And we will definitely see you again on ShipRocked. But for 2021, we hope that everything comes to fruition for you.
I do too.
Especially with Living Color. And folks out there, if you want to check out a really great heavy record with tons of melody, and you can definitely hear Corey's voice stands way out. It's the Disciples of Verity. So you guys check that record out.
It freaking rips.
It's a great record. I think you guys really enjoy it. Yeah, if you pair that with the new Seven Dust record, you're going to have a good 2 hours of rock and roll. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So listen, guys, everyone out there, thank you so much. A couple of housekeeping real quick. We still do have a few cabins left for 2021. So we're still a go on that. So check that out at shiprocked.com and see if there's a cabin to your liking, or you can buddy up with someone and try that. Also, we have some new merch out for 2021. If you guys already saw, we do have the leggings and jerseys out, and coming real soon before Christmas, we'll have some new hoodies out. So we'll keep you up to date on that. So obviously, Corey Glover, thank you, my friend. We really appreciate it. And yes,
great.
Absolutely. And on behalf of myself, Justin Press, thank you to my co-host, Chad Nicefield, and all of those that asked for entertainment, including our engineer, Jennifer Zito, the show coordinator, Heather Smith, producer, Al McManus, and of course, none other than the captain, Alan Koenig. We remind you to rock hard and vacation harder. Thank you so much. This has been Making Waves. We are part of the Sound Talent Media family.